Next, categories 4, 5, and 6. The lower IUCN categories or International Union for Conservation of Nature categories involve landscapes and seascapes that have been extensively altered by human activities, are actively managed to achieve stipulated conservation objectives and or are used for sustainable extraction of renewable resources. Their potential for hard ecotourism is therefore limited. Yet, although not having the same high profile as national parks, they have a very high potential for soft ecotourism for the following reasons. We have 7 reasons. First, modified landscapes often provide a good array of services for visitors. Second, many of these areas are managed specifically to accommodate a large number of diversity of visitors. Although the potential presence of hunters and motorized recreational vehicles users deter many ecotourists. Third, being protected areas, in theory, they are safeguarded in the long term from alterations and activities that are incompatible with their designation and dissuasive to ecotourism. Fourth, at the same time, their modified statements that they are not sensitive to the negative impact of ecotourism as relatively undisturbed natural habitat. Next, the strong cultural presence may be attractive to ecotourists seeking diverse stimulation and interpretation of settings where the natural and cultural environments interact in a variety of ways. Next, these three categories cumulatively occupy a large amount of territory, accounting as of 2003 for about 6% of the global system of protected areas. And the last is modified species can accommodate a diverse array of wild flora and fauna and therefore provide high quality ecotourism experiences. The 10 national parks of England and Wales, which host about 40 million visitors annually, are an important example of a lower order protected area system providing soft ecotourism opportunities. In many destinations, lower order protected areas serve as protective transitional spaces or buffer zones between higher order protected areas and unprotected areas. Examples include forest reserves, Category 4, adjacent to national parks in Australia, and national forest, Category 6, adjacent national parks in the USA. And our next topic is all about marine protected areas. A global system of marine protected areas is gradually being established, although its development has been much slower than its terrestrial counterpart. There were about 3,500 MPS as of 2004, occupying only a minuscule portion of the world's machine space. Their suitability for ecotourism is influenced by a number of factors. First, the marine environment both supports and transports life, rendering it particularly difficult to fence off a given portion for preservation and management purposes. At the same time, this unstable environment is extremely vulnerable to disruptive external forces such as oil spills, land based agricultural and mining runoff and sedimentation, cruise ship activity, military exercises, and overfishing. Geopolitics associated with the law of the sea, a United Nations convention that establishes rules governing all uses of oceans and their resources, are also potentially problematic, especially in regard to the issue of establishing international MPES is the highest seas where most of the world's saltwater space is found. Moreover, countries with coastlines have full jurisdiction only over their territorial waters, which extend 12 miles from shore, but not over their economic zones, which extend for an additional 188 miles. In scientific terms, relatively little is known about the ecology and carrying capacity of marine environments, and management is further complicated by the invisibility factor of activities that cannot be easily monitored from above the surface. The primary reason for the establishment of MPS is to protect the local marine resources and to maintain marine biodiversity. However, the need to both promote and control tourism is widely recognized as an important secondary consideration. Given the rapid growth in boating, scuba diving, snorkeling, submarine based observation, and whale watching, and the opportunities and threats that this can cumulative generate. The relationship between MPS and tourism is especially relevant to Australia, which exercises primary control over a marine area of 11 million km compared with 11,700,000 km of land area and contains about a third of the world's MPS. These areas protect about 5% of Australia's marine space, although most of this, as well as disproportionate share of the country's marine-based tourism industry, is accounted for by just one entity, the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park.